think about reaching back, helping others. And I think that you all are here today speaks volume with regards to the direction that you're going in relative to your status as a mentee. And there are many mentors in here, so when you get to a certain level, make sure that you reach back and help someone else to become their mentor. So again, happy National Mentoring Month. So at this time, I want to welcome you all to this auspicious occasion. This event is for you all so that you all can hear a great, phenomenal speaker speak about the topic that you see up here, failure as a tool for success. We should never look at failure as a failure. We look at failures as opportunities. So without further ado, I'm going to pause because we would not be here if it were not for Belmont University, and I want to allow them to come up and speak, just, share some words with us. Yes, thank you all.
Well, welcome to campus. I see some familiar faces. I see a lot of new faces. I'm Dr. Luke Longlinay. This is Dr. Kristen Fail and Carrie Finnegan. So I'll let them speak too, but I just want to welcome you to campus. Sorry if you had a hard time finding us tonight. I'm so glad you made it. We waited for you.
Thank you.
No, we had a great time with the food, and make sure that you visit it again. There's plenty we need to all go before the night's over, but welcome to Belmont. We're excited to have you here.
Hi, like Luke said, my name is Kristen Fail. I'm also a faculty member here at Belmont. Luke and I both teach organizational behavior, HR, the type of classes that the people in this room probably have taken or would enjoy. So we're just happy to have you. We're trying to build our relationship with Middle MTSHRM and do more events like this with them. I think we already have a couple in the works, so hopefully we'll see you all again at Belmont or off campus at other events.
Hello, I'm Carrie Finnegan, and I am the Graduate Recruitment and Admissions Coordinator for the College of Business, and so I spend most of my days talking to young people and professionals interested in MBA programs, Masters of Accounting programs, and we are about to launch a new Masters of Science in Applied Analytics. So if you're interested in a healthcare MBA or a professional MBA or accelerated MBA, I have a bunch of information in the back of the room. Feel free to stop by and say hello. I'm happy to just meet you and say hi, even if you're not interested. So thanks for being here.
So raise your hand if you're contemplating going back to school to get another degree. Raise your hand. Well, you know what? Belmont University, they have many master's programs, and I want you all to take advantage of stopping to that back table, and I want you to pull some information, take it away with you so that way you can go home and you can read through it, and you can see if you want to pursue another master's degree or a initial master's degree. How about that? All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started with our program. I tell you, this is so wonderful. I want you all to just really take out your pen, take out your paper, because y'all are going to need to write copious notes because it's important for you all to take notes. One of the things that I do want to point out before you all leave tonight, we need to know how our workshop is. And so all of you all have an evaluation in front of you. We want each and every one of you all to complete that evaluation to let us know what you think about this program tonight, anything that we can improve upon, and things that we've done great that we can continue to do. So please, before you leave, make sure you fill it out. And when you fill it out, just raise your hand or give it to me. I'll make sure that it gets to the appropriate person, okay? So without further ado, I'm going to shut up. And I'm going to let Luke introduce our speaker of the hour. So, Luke.
Thank you so much, Jerry. Well, live mic. My name is Luke McKenty. Slightly different there from Luke over there at Belmont. But I'm co-chair with Valerie James for the mentor program. I think I've met many of you at our kickoff event this year. So we're so thrilled to have you back, and we're so thrilled that Kyla Cofer has agreed to give us a keynote speech this evening. I think you guys are going to love her. She is wonderful. And if you'll forgive me, I'm just going to read my notes here because I want to make sure I give her the proper introduction that she deserves. So our presenter today is a transformational leadership coach. She hosts the Leadership School podcast, where she interviews extraordinary leaders from around the world to bring relevant advice and wisdom for any growing leader. She openly shares her own inspirational stories of anxiety, burnout, and self-doubt, knowing that vulnerability has the power to change the world. When she is not training leaders in well-being and mental health practices, she is homeschooling 2 young children in Nashville, Tennessee. Please welcome Kyla Cofer.
Thank you. Good evening. I've lived in Nashville for 16 years. I'm curious if anybody has lived here longer than me. Anybody lived here longer than 16 years? Okay, how long have you lived here?
19 years.
19 years. Okay, what about you?
All my life.
Your whole life. So longer than 19 years, we're gonna assume? Maybe 20? Anybody else lived here longer than me? How long have you lived here?
My whole life.
Your whole life? Well, awesome.
I've moved away.
But you can still claim the 20 years. Okay, let's kind of go around the room. Let's go 10 to 16. Who's lived here 10 to 16 years, 10 to 15 years? Got a couple people? Oh, okay, you. What about 5 to 10? All right, that's a little bit bigger group. Less than 5, who's lived here less than 5 years? Oh, most of you, wow. Well, welcome to Nashville. Welcome to our city. We're so glad to have you here. Well, when I moved to Nashville 16 years ago, I didn't move here for any particular reason. I just had promised myself, don't worry, I turned it off.
Oh, okay.
I'm only going to have it up there if we need it. I moved here only because I had promised myself that I would never again move somewhere where I didn't already know people. And I knew people here in Nashville, 3 people, in fact, Molly and Justin Cole, and their good friend, Luke McKenty. And I don't know if you remember this, Luke, but when I moved here in December, and you invited me to a Christmas party. You do remember it. Okay, so I went to this Christmas party at Luke's, and it was so significant for me because I met other people. Because I met other people, I started to really get established here. I built relationships and made Nashville my home. And now I've been here for 16 years. And I was thinking about that part of my journey and just the journeys that we generally take in our lives. You saw up there, we're talking about failure, we're gonna talk about success, what both of those things mean and what they look like and all of that kind of stuff. But honestly, I really think that it's really just about this journey that we're taking in our life. And as I was reflecting on my own personal journey, I realized that everything about the person that I am today, my career, my character, the things that I care about, the things that I think about, all of that, I can pinpoint down to one single decision that I made when I was 19 years old. One single decision. I decided at 19 that I was going to learn to speak Spanish. And not just learn a little Spanish, I was going to be a fluent Spanish speaker. Are there any Spanish speakers out here tonight? Do we have any Spanish speakers? Oh, good. We have one Spanish speaker. Anybody out here speak more than one language? If you speak more than one language, yeah, awesome. I think being multilingual is such an incredible gift. For me, it really, really was. And when I decided to speak Spanish, honestly, it didn't really feel like a decision. It felt like there was some paths laid out in front of me, and this one just had a lot of light on it. So I started kind of walking that way, and I didn't really think about it a lot. I just started doing more things. So I started taking Spanish classes. Then I added Spanish as a minor to my studies. And then I was speaking Spanish every chance I could get. I even had a friend on my campus, Miguel. Miguel was a native speaker, and he agreed to meet with me every week. So we would just meet once a week, and we'd just chat, and he'd let me practice my Spanish. So I was doing all of those things. And then at some point in the fall semester of my junior year, a woman named Amber came to my class, one of my classes. And Amber was a recruiter for study abroad programs, semester-long off-campus study abroad programs. One of those programs was the Latin American Studies program based in San Jose, Costa Rica. And again, it wasn't like I was really making a decision. there was a path and there was a lot of light on it. And I just started walking that way, trying to figure out what I was going to do. And I remember applying for the program, and it was a really big to-do, just applying for the program. But I think there was something in me. You have that like gut intuition, that kind of knowing where you know. I think I knew that I'd be spending that next semester abroad, but I didn't actually know until I had the letter in front of me. You guys know that feeling when you actually finally get that decision. So I'm waiting for the letter, but there's something you guys need to know about me at that point in my life. At that stage, I was a completely insecure person. I was very shy. I had no sense of self-worth, really no sense of self-efficacy whatsoever. Tons of self-doubt, pretty much honestly thought of myself as worthless. I was also really pious. So I don't know if they went together, and I'm a perfectionist. I don't know if they went together, but I never used bad language. I never spoke out of turn. I was overly kind all the time, and I lived in this really tight, small little box. My husband and I always joke that I lived under a rock, which I kind of did. It was this very small box. So the idea of going abroad for me wasn't really just a step outside of that box. It was like a leap outside of that box. But I remember the day that I got accepted, I was elated. I was so excited. You could see me glowing from the other side of campus. That spot where y'all were lost, that's where you could see me glowing from there. I was so excited to go study abroad. And I told everybody, every chance I could get, everybody at school know that I was going to be spending a semester abroad. So I was telling Miguel and I are sitting, we're chatting, we're talking all about it, and I'm telling him, and I want to tell him how excited I am. Now, the way I learned Spanish, those of you who speak another language, I'm not sure how you learned, but the way that I learned, I first learned a ton of vocabulary and a lot of grammar, and I'd think about what I wanted to say in English, then I'd find all the vocabulary and grammar and put it all through my mind, and out it would come into Spanish. So I was doing that. Miguel, I am so excited to go to Costa Rica. Estoy muy excited to go to Costa Rica. Excitada para ir a Costa Rica. And Miguel starts laughing. I'm like, why is that funny? That's not funny. I'm excited to go. And he is laughing so hard. And he goes, yes, Kyla, you did say that you were excited to go to Costa Rica. But excitada in this sense means, well, a different kind of excited. And I went, huh? Oh, no, that is not what I meant. I don't talk like that. No, my face is beet red. I am so embarrassed. I am just mortified. I would never say something like that. Estoy muy embarazada. Oh, he is laughing even harder. He is rolling on the ground, trying to hold it together because I had just told him that I was pregnant. Oh yeah, in 2 minutes, I told my friend Miguel that I was horny and pregnant to go to Costa Rica. Not quite what I meant to say. It was that moment in the middle of campus on John Brown University that I finally understood what it meant to learn. And not just to learn, but what it meant to fail and to let that failure be a proponent of my growth, to propel me to where I wanted to go, because I was very clear in my goal. I knew what I wanted. I was going to become a fluent Spanish speaker. And it didn't matter what I did, and nothing was going to get in the way. That's where I was going. I said to myself, I don't think I could say anything more stupid or embarrassing than what I just said. So what do I have to lose if I just speak, if I try? So that's what I did. I went abroad, spent a semester in Latin America, came back to campus, spoke Spanish every single day. And a year after my most embarrassing moment, I was fluent in Spanish, near native. I didn't let my failure prevent me from getting where I wanted to go. And I have lost, unfortunately, a lot of my Spanish since then, but I promise I will be 100 years old, and I will still remember, instead of saying excitada, try emocionada, and unless you're actually pregnant, say que vergüenza. I learned 4 new phrases that day that will stick with me for the rest of my life because I allowed myself to be in that moment. Instead of going back to my dorm room and sitting and feeling so embarrassed and shame, I took it and I did something with it. And that's what we're talking about tonight. There's actually a phrase for this: positive reprisal. We're taking our stressful situation and we're turning it into an opportunity. I'm not talking toxic positivity. We're not like saying, oh, it's okay. No, we're saying this moment, there's something about it that's not quite right. This is stressful. This was a failure. What can we do with it? How are we going to act? What can we do differently? How are we going to use this as a moment of growth to push us to where we want to go? Because our failures don't need to prevent our success. Instead, they propel us into our success. 6 years ago, I was working for an accounting firm. We had taken on a new client here in Nashville. They were a restaurant with 5 different locations, about 70-ish employees. And we were doing their bookkeeping and payroll. I was responsible for both, but I had some help with the bookkeeping. The payroll, however, was all my responsibility. So our payroll process, our cycle, we were on a biweekly pay cycle. Y'all know that. I like that we're among people who understand payroll. So we're on a biweekly payroll cycle. The payroll period ended on Sundays. We would start back up on Mondays. We would do all the timesheet approvals, corrections, all of that stuff. And then Tuesdays was my day. I pulled all the reports, opened up my giant Excel spreadsheets. I did all these crazy, weird tip calculations. Then I would process and prepare the payroll, get a preview, and I'd send it off to Ryan, who is the CEO, and he'd approve everything and check it all out. Then usually I'd submit it Tuesday night. The deadline wasn't actually until Wednesdays at 1:30, but I like to have that buffer day because, something's going to go wrong. So we had that buffer day. And then everybody would get paid on Friday, direct deposit or whoever they got paid on Friday. So this was our process. We'd been doing this for a couple of years, and everything was going great. But a couple of years in, Ryan said that he wanted to make just a little shift. Instead of having me submit the payroll on Tuesdays, he wanted to wait until Wednesday mornings. The payroll coming out of the bank account was like $50,000, which is, not insignificant. So he wanted that extra day of sales coming in on Tuesdays to be in the bank before the money went back out. Totally fine. You're the boss. Whatever you want, you get. And we're kind of already doing that anyway. It's no big deal. Well, one Friday morning, I get a phone call. Hey, Ryan, what's up? Hey, Kyla. So I'm looking at the bank account, and I don't see the payroll coming out of the account at all. Really, that's strange. Like, it's pending and it hasn't cleared, or you just don't see it at all. Nope, not pending. It hasn't come out of the bank account. Like, there's no signs of this payroll whatsoever. Okay, that's a little weird. Let me go get into the software. I'll check into it, and I'll give you a call back. Awesome, thanks. All right, so I get into the software, and it doesn't take me 30 seconds to figure out I never went back and hit submit. 70 people weren't going to be paid that day because I forgot to hit a button. Anybody ever make a grand mistake? If you have, can you just take a deep breath with me for a second? Sometimes you just kind of need a moment. As you can imagine, I was in firefighter panic mode. And I called my team and we figured out a solution pretty quickly. We got the payroll submitted, printed paper checks for everybody, hand delivered them. Everybody got paid and it was all fine. That's our end result, but that's not really what I did. What I did was a process and a system. And I want to walk you through that because no matter where you are in your career, you're going to make a mistake. That mistake might be small. It might be career ending. It might be big, but you are going to make a mistake. But if you have a system and a process in place for how to deal with it, you can spend all your mental energy fixing that mistake instead of worrying how to work your way through it. So what I did that day, I'm gonna walk you guys through how I solved this problem and how I fixed that mistake. It's my system called dang. Like, dang, I messed up. I made a mistake. I want you guys to say it with me on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Dang. Okay, only Luke did it. You got to get into it. You got to get the arm going in. Like, don't punch anybody, but I want to see it. Let's get the arm going in. 1, 2, 3. Dang. There you go. You got to remember it. So you got to get the movement in there. Dang. It's a 5-step process for how to, I call it how to apologize, but it's really how to correct and deal with a mistake like this. So step 1. It's going to be kind of obvious, but step 1 is apologize. You've messed up. Small mistakes, I get. Okay. Does anybody here use TikTok? I spend a little too much time on TikTok. If you spend too much time on TikTok, can you give a round of applause? Yeah, okay. I keep seeing these videos on TikTok that my feed says, anyways, which makes total sense, but you should never apologize in your career. For example, instead of saying, I'm sorry for being late, you say, thank you for your patience. And I totally get that. Makes sense, especially coming from someone who is very insecure and used to apologize all the time for everything. So much so that one time my boss, he sent me an email and the subject line was, sorries. Kyla, please stop apologizing for everything. It's okay, you're gonna make mistakes. And I wrote him back, sorry. So I get that, but when you make a mistake that affects the payroll of 70 people, you're gonna apologize, and you're gonna do so using this phrase, and I want you to write it down. 6 words, I'm sorry, this is my fault. And when you say these words, I'm sorry, this is my fault, something physiological happens in the mind, your mind and body, and in the mind of the body of the person you're working with. Because when you made that mistake, what you did was you created this giant glass ball, and somebody has to hold it. Ryan is currently holding it because he found the mistake, and he's the boss, so ultimately it falls on him, right? The responsibility. Ryan's holding this glass ball, and what happens when I call him and I say, Ryan, I am sorry, this is my fault. I take the ball. The problems didn't go away. Ryan's probably still mad. Fair enough. But now I'm holding the ball, and it's my responsibility, and he knows I've accepted that blame. Something changes. And you know when somebody's sincere, right? And someone's not sincere. Oh, I'm sorry I was late. Sorry I missed that call. They're not sorry. They're gonna be late again. But when you are insincere in it, I am sorry, this is my fault, the other person knows. And then you're going to describe what happened. Ryan over here, he does not want to be the detective, the investigator. He doesn't want to try and figure out what happened because I'm holding the glass ball. That's my fault, my responsibility to figure out what went wrong. But he's going to keep wondering what happened until I tell him. So we need to describe what happened. Ryan, I am sorry. This is my fault. I forgot to hit submit. That's it. Ryan's not looking for a 30-minute sob story apology of all of my emotions, me trying to explain and want him to know how really bad I feel. He doesn't want that. He doesn't want a 3-page email or a congressional hearing, unless your career takes you there and you need a congressional hearing. He doesn't want that. Just be brief. Explain what happened so that the detecting work can stop. And I like to say the bigger the mistake, the bigger the apology and the explanation. So, if you just were 5 minutes late, you don't really need to go into it. If you affected an entire country, a congressional hearing would be appropriate. Use your judgment and your wisdom, but describe what happened. And then after that, we're going to do the obvious. You're going to fix it. You're going to take actions to correct your mistake. I know this seems intuitive, but I'm talking about systems and processes. When you have the system and process in place, when you're following dang, you don't have to think about, okay, what do I do next? You follow this and you're going to be successful. Take actions to fix it. And it's really great if you can get all that done before you make that phone call. Hey, Ryan, I'm sorry. This is my fault. I forgot to hit submit. I want you to know that right now as we speak, we're printing all the paper checks. We'll have them hand delivered to your location by noon today. Awesome. In one phone call, Ryan understood whose responsibility for it, problem was solved, and he can just go about his day as the CEO. That's what he needs to do. Just move on. And I've already handled it. Keeping the other person informed is very important. As much as you can, explain to them and keep them in the loop. You'll be putting yourself on a path to success. Okay. Do you remember how we talked about positive reprisal? Taking your stressful situation and turning it into an opportunity? This is when we're going to do that. Our next 2 steps. We're going to make, did I hit the wrong button? We're going to make sure that it never happens again. That's part of that sincerity in the apology. Hey, Ryan, I'm hand delivering checks to you as we speak. I want you to know I've already put steps into place to make sure this never happens again. We have calendar reminders set, and I've got my whole team in on the loop so that it's not just my responsibility anymore. And to be honest, I'm pretty embarrassed, so I want to make sure this never happens again, but I have steps in place just in case. This is our positive reprisal. I'm turning this into an opportunity because what happens when you have something like this happen? There's a phrase in psychology we use called rupture and repair. I like to explain it like a broken bone. So say you break your arm. You need to do something physical. I don't know what just happened. You need to do something physical to repair that. Whether it's a cast, a splint, surgery, whatever. You need to physically do something. The same thing happens in relationships. If there has been trust broken, you've made that big mistake, there is now a rupture. This goes for any relationship, not just career, but your family, your friends, all your personal relationships. If there's been a rupture, it will remain ruptured until somebody takes the steps to repair it and do that work and rebuild that trust. That's what we're doing here with Never Again. Our positive reprisal, we are now giving ourselves the opportunity to get better at our job, to build stronger relationships, to pay closer attention, I don't know, whatever that is. We are rebuilding that trust. It's not going to come back up, but that's okay. Our last step is really easy to remember because what a perfect opportunity for our G, gratitude. What a chance we have now to express gratitude for the relationship. You're already in it. You're already talking about all this stuff. Why not use this as a moment? Hey, Ryan, I'm putting steps in place to make sure this never happens again. And I just wanted to say I'm so thankful for the opportunity to work with you, for the opportunity to make this right. And I'm really looking forward to continuing to work with you in the future. Bam. He might still be mad. That's okay. And there's no shame in having to go through this process, into admitting that you're wrong, into making the mistake. You don't need to wallow in it. But I've given Ryan the opportunity to know how grateful I am. Now, I can't promise you that if you follow dang, you won't lose your job if something big happens. I can't promise you that. But I can tell you this. What's Ryan know about me right now? What else? Bingo. He knows he could let me go, right? But if he does that, he has to go find another company and train them. And now he knows that this is a potential mistake, and they're quite likely to make the same mistake. But what does he know with me? He knows that I'm going to make it right. And he can trust that I'm going to do that. And if you follow this odd dang process, even if you were to lose your job, this will put your character on a road to success. You will be successful. I believe every single person in this room was designed for success. Whatever that looks like for you. I don't know what success looks like to every single one of you, and I don't know what path you're on. But if you follow a system and process, the character that you will develop and the success that you will find will be something you could never even imagine. I do a lot of things in my life right now and in my career. I am a speaker. I'm a coach. I homeschool my 2 kids. I'm a mom. I still run payroll for Ryan because we had such a good working relationship that we just kept working together. Follow the system and the process. Say it with me. 1, 2, 3. Ah, dang. I know it's kind of weird, but I want you to remember it. So, 2020. Yeah. 2020 was a really hard year for me. And it was for a lot of people. It wasn't for everybody, but it was for a lot of people it was hard. For me, it was especially hard. I was a year into my new career as a coach, building a coaching business. My kids at the time were 1 and 3-ish. Being a parent to babies and toddlers, some people are great at it. For me, it was really hard. I felt very isolated. I was home all the time with them. And then the pandemic hit, and we were even more isolated. My support systems we couldn't reach out to. So I was just alone a lot. My husband got COVID pretty early on in July. And I was still in the we don't really know what's going on phase. There are no vaccines, and it's kind of a panic. And for me, it was just a really traumatic and stressful experience. It took me a long time to kind of recover from that. My daughter, she was 1. She broke her wrist twice that summer. My mother-in-law moved in with us. It was a hard year. But there were some good things that happened, and all that stuff that was going on, I was doing a lot of internal work, and I'd been doing it for years. It's kind of who I am, but I really did a lot of internal work that year to really build my confidence, my self-belief, and self-worth, and I was finally, instead of just thinking it and thinking other people, trying to tell people, I finally believed in my own worth as a person. And I wanted to do something fun. Because I was doing all of this inside work, I wanted to show that and express it in some way on the outside. So I decided that I was going to get purple hair. I had always wanted purple hair. I thought that if I had purple hair, then obviously I would be more confident, and people would see me as confident, because when you have purple hair, like, you have to know yourself and be confident to wear that out. And I just knew that it would just really take my confidence to a whole new level. So I met with my hairstylist, and we agreed that I was going to do extensions. I just wanted highlights. I didn't want to go like all purple. So I brought an example here for you. We were going to do these extensions. Now, these aren't like real. These are just my daughter's costume extensions. I don't know if you can see, but they have these clips that bend back and forth. So the clip bends, and then I don't know how this one works here. It's a little different. You like put it in your hair somehow, and then you push the clip back in, and it stays, and then you look awesome and super confident, right? So I was going to do these extensions, but real extensions, the way they work, if you've never had them done, is they tape or sew them into the roots of your hair, and then they just grow back out with your hair. And they get down to, like about here, and then your stylist comes and puts them back in, puts them back at the top, and fixes your hair all up, and it looks really great. So I got my purple extensions, and mine had started to grow out. They were about here. But they really were helping my confidence. The one thing they didn't help with, though, were my social media photos. Here I am as a coach. I'm building an online business, and I really needed to have photos of myself out there. But every photo I took was just really bad. Really bad, because they were all selfies. I didn't have a photographer yet. And every time I'd take them, I still had that little bit of insecurity, like going out with them. So you could feel it. And I was a stay-at-home mom. So anytime I thought, oh, I should get a photo of myself, I was probably wearing like a stained t-shirt and, just something that didn't look good. Well, I had an opportunity at the end of that year, 2020, to get professional headshots taken through the Nashville Entrepreneur Center. Is anybody familiar with the Nashville Entrepreneur Center? If you guys aren't, I want to encourage you, go check it out. They're located on Hermitage Avenue, right on the river next to Pinewood Social. Fantastic organization. And they'll just go on in and just visit and say hi. They had an opportunity to get free headshots. And I was like, this is my moment. This is what I'm going to do. My extensions needed to be moved up because they were way down here. I waited a long time. I am going to get an entire afternoon to myself. I'm going to go to the salon. We're going to move my extensions up. Then I'm going to go straight from there downtown, get my photos taken. I'm going to look awesome because I'll have just left the salon. I'll have these amazing photos. I'll start putting them out in the world, and my business is going to explode. I am going to be so successful. This is perfect. So I got everything arranged. I got my childcare, and I walked into my hair salon, and immediately everything fell apart. We're so sorry, but your stylist had an emergency and had to leave. Would you like to reschedule? No, I would not. My extensions were down here. No, I would not. I can't. Look, I have to get these extensions moved up. I'm on my way in 2 hours. I have to be downtown to get my photo taken. Did I mention the photos were free? And I was really excited about that part. And they said, okay, we'll figure something out. Don't worry. So they did. And instead of one stylist, I ended up having 3. Person 1 came, and she took my extensions out. Person 2 came, and they washed my hair. Person 3 gave me a haircut. And it turns out that person 3 happened to be the one person in the salon who gave you the haircut that he wanted you to have, not the haircut that I asked for. And I have to take my glasses off to get my hair cut. And so y'all are kind of blurry. I see some pinks and blacks. And so then I put them back on and realized that my hair was very short, way shorter than I had asked for and wanted. And then he goes on to gaslight me and tell me, but that's what you agreed to. Then person number 1 comes back and puts my extensions back in. And of course, they're too long. And y'all, they don't grow back. If you cut them, that's it. They're done. And if they were going to cut them to match my now short haircut that I didn't like and never would want and never would have again, then I would never have extensions again, and I wouldn't be able to get to use them because you can reuse them. And now I'm looking at my clock and realizing that I'm running late and I might miss my appointment. And I have to make a decision. Do I cut the extensions or do I just take them out? And if I take them out, then now I don't have purple hair in my photos. And no one will see how confident I am. I took them out. I couldn't, and had them, I just said, just take them out. Then somebody looks at me and realizes things are not going well, says the one question you probably shouldn't ask somebody in that moment. Are you okay? Trying to keep it together, no, I am not okay. Get me out of here. I get out of there as quickly as I can. I was in Nipper's Corner. And I get in my car and I try and touch up a little bit, and I start heading on 65 towards downtown Nashville. And I get about to 100 Oaks. I just couldn't keep it in anymore. And I was ugly, crying. Uncontrollable sobs. The kind of crying you only have a couple times in your life. I had been holding on to so much. And I just let it all out. And I looked at the person in the car next to me and I thought, oh, they can see me. And then I went, who cares? They want to cry too. We're in the middle of a pandemic and I just need to be in it. And I allowed myself to just be in it in that moment. But then while I was crying, I realized, oh, now I have a decision to make. I might be a few minutes late. They might not even have me in there. I probably should just call and cancel. I'm a mess. These photos are going to be horrible. Or I could go, and maybe by some miracle, they would turn out okay, enough to be able to use. And if they don't, well, then at least I would have a very physical reminder of the last time that I failed to stand up for myself. The last time that I let somebody else tell me what I wanted. The last time that I failed to communicate exactly what I needed, and the last time that I let somebody else determine my worth. Because my failure doesn't what? Say it with me. Have to prevent my success. It can what? Propel me towards it. I had my photos taken that day. They turned out fine. They turned out great. I used these for years in my business, and they really did help propel me to where I wanted to go. There's a woman named Oprah Winfrey. Anybody heard of her? Oprah Winfrey was fired from her first job as a news anchor. Another person was fired, Steve Jobs, from the very company that he created. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. Babe Ruth was known as the king of strikeouts. Jerry Seinfeld was booed from his first comedy stage. Walt Disney was told that he lacked creativity and had no good ideas. J.K. Rowling submitted Harry Potter to 12 different publishers who rejected it, and Sir Dyson had over 5,000 failed prototypes before he finally perfected the vacuum cleaner. Your failures don't prevent your success. They propel you towards it. Y'all, I want to thank you so much for having me here tonight. It is truly my honor and my pleasure to be here with you and to just be on this journey with you. Luke, thank you for welcoming me to Nashville, into the stage tonight, and for the honor of a lifelong friendship. I'm truly grateful. If any of you would like to join me on this journey, I would love to talk to you more. I'll be here for the rest of the event tonight, but I would love to join you, or if you would want to join me on this journey, this is how you can get in touch with me. I'm at kylacofer.com. Also, when you walked in, you can scan the QR code to listen to my podcast. I'd be honored if you join me in listening to the Leadership School podcast. I do speaking, one-on-one coaching, and some of the things I coach on. I do executive leadership coaching, talk a lot about burnout prevention, just general life coaching. I love talking about boundaries. It's my favorite word in the English language, boundaries. I also have a whole podcast program. So if you are interested in starting your own podcast, I can walk you through the podcaster school, and I'll coach you through in starting your own podcast and how I was successful in doing mine. And then because I know we're HR people here, I also do offer some bookkeeping coaching. We'll throw that in there. I still do some bookkeeping as well. So if I can support you in any ways, I would love to do that. Okay, I know we are wrapping up, but this is a unique event. It's a small, kind of more intimate event. And while you still have me on stage, like I said, I'll be here and I would love to chat with you, and I've already met several of you, but what questions do you guys have for me now that we can address in a group? I would love to just stay up here and answer questions right now if you have any. I know they're out there. Yeah, go ahead.
So for D and Day,
Yeah.
you said describe what happened.
Uh-huh.
And I was curious, how do you describe what happened without trying to make excuses? Because I think sometimes people don't want to hear it, they just want the apology and move on. So how do you feel that out?
Yeah, so what I like about this process is that it really takes the emotion out of it. And excuses are really just trying to cover up an emotion of shame, I think. And so if you're taking out that emotion of shame, then you don't have a need for excuses. But you can explain something, and someone needs to know like that explanation. But I think that's part of like how big of an explanation are you going to give? And when you're giving excuses, are you trying to blame somebody else, or are you still taking ownership? Because if you've started at the A and you're accepting responsibility and taking that ownership, then you don't really have as much need for excuses. Because I explained to Ryan, I said, I forgot to hit submit. We changed the calendar system. Like my brain just didn't compute, like it didn't get ingrained in my mind, which is a legitimate reason. But if then I went on and I was like, well, yeah, but I just, no one was reminding me and I didn't have anybody else, like, it can spiral. So and I think if you are really taking ownership for it and not allowing yourself to wallow in that shame, because I think it's really easy to go to feel bad about something when you've made a mistake like that, because a lot of us, especially I remember when I was new in my career, I wanted everybody to see how awesome I was, and I didn't want anybody to regret hiring me. So I wanted to make sure like I was always doing well and that I was proving myself kind of thing. But if we eliminate that and just understand that everybody makes mistakes and it's part of it, I don't think we have the need for real excuses anymore. And if you are working with someone and you're noticing that they are creating a lot of excuses, it might be time to say, let's talk about ownership. Let's talk about accepting your part in things. Take them into an AA meeting. I don't know. They do a lot of ownership in Al-Anon meetings, anonymous meetings. Does that help? More questions about that? Okay. What else? Yeah.
So do you currently have a mentor, or if you don't have one right now, can you talk about a previous mentor that you've had and how they have brought you to where you are now?
Oh my gosh. I actually don't have a mentor right now, which has been really hard. But I've had so many mentors. And the first person that comes to my mind is from my very first job. I actually ended up working for that study abroad program. Amber is now my best friend. But Marge, I worked with Marge, and Marge would help me and give me the advice that I needed when I asked for it. But she also knew to trust me and allow me to trust myself, and gave me the space to do that, which was really great. I remember one time specifically, she was like giving me advice for something, and I said, yeah, but I don't think this, and she goes, you know what's right for you. And that felt really good because I was young and I didn't believe in myself, and to have somebody do that for me was really empowering, really powerful. But also, like, she was always there when I made mistakes and when I needed help, and she would help me without embarrassment and without any type of shame. But that she was also vulnerable about her own mistakes. One time we were doing study abroad stuff, and Marge, I'd forgotten about this. Marge forgot to add somebody to the flight list for a study abroad program, so like they didn't have a plane ticket. Which is a big deal because they didn't know it until they were like ready to fly. They were like at the airport ready to go and didn't have a ticket. And that was a really big mistake. And Marge was like vulnerable about it, but she didn't beat herself up over it. But she let me see her making mistakes, which was nice. Especially when I was new in career and felt like I had to prove something to somebody. And she showed me I didn't really have to do that. Yeah. I think it's really valuable to always have a coach in any capacity. Once I've started life coaching, I've had a lot of coaches help me along the way. And sometimes the mentors are people that I don't even know. Like maybe I'll listen to a podcast and that person will become a mentor and they don't even realize they're mentoring me. But having more people and more wisdom feeding into you all the time, like you can never go wrong. You just can't. Yeah.
All right, we have time for one more question.
Yeah. Okay, say it with me. 1, 2, 3. Ah, dang. Awesome. Thank you all so much. Actually, I'm just going to leave that up there.
We thank you so much for the information that you've imparted into all of us. It was just wonderful. Remember, challenges present opportunities. Failure is never an option. You look at that failure as success, as to what's to come. It teaches us to not give up. It teaches us to, guess what? Seek out a mentor to help us. Never be afraid to pick up the phone to call someone to help you. And I would be remiss if I did not ask the MTSHRM committee to stand up and come up here, because without all of us, we would not have been able to put on this program. We met weekly, and we know that we did not, people RSVP, but some did not show up. But you know what? Those of you that are here, you were supposed to be here. And so we thank you all for affording us the opportunity to sow into you all. And I want each and every person up here to introduce themselves.
Hi everybody, Valerie James, your co-chair. Deborah Cersina, and I am on the committee.
I'm Luke again, also co-chair.
Kelly Houston on the committee, just here to be funny.
How many of you all have not heard of MTSHRM? Raise your hand. I wasn't, one person, I was gonna say I wasn't expecting anybody to say, but that's okay, yes. We're the Middle Tennessee Society for Human Resource Management. And I tell you, we are professionals in the HR, human resources space. With regards to MTSHRM, we're always connecting, we're always mentoring, we're always educating, and last but not least, we're always supporting. So please know that we're here for you all. Please don't hesitate to reach out to one of us to help you move in your trajectory state, whether it's your professional life or your personal life. So without further ado, we have a little token of appreciation for our presenter.
Oh.
Kyla, on behalf of MTSHRM, we would like to give you this gift card and thank you from the bottom of our heart. You've been a great keynote speaker for us this evening, and we just really appreciate you.
Thank you. That's really generous. Thank you so much.